Welcome to the G-Spot, aka the gaslighting spot.
Tick tock, tick tock. Welcome to the G-Spot. Welcome to the G-Spot. Tick tock, tick tock. Welcome to the G-Spot. Welcome to the G-Spot. Let's start,
Welcome to the G-Spot, aka the gaslighting spot. Welcome to your safe haven, where we talk about gaslighting, toxic relationships, and basically all the mental crap that is holding you back. Today's episode is going to be on how to deal with gaslighting. Hello, my fellow humans. Thank you so much for joining me on the G-Spot for this episode. My name is Olympia. If you have no idea who I am, with my studies in cognitive neuroscience and art history, what I like to do, I like to dissect that pretty little brain of yours to see what makes you tick and also what makes you talk. So, let's start with what is gaslighting, how to deal with gaslighting. We are creatures that are solution-oriented, so it's not mostly about the journey. We care about the results. We're wired that way. So I just want to give you some quick tips on how to deal with gaslighting. However, you're going to have to do the work. So let's start. Oh, and let's see who left the gaslight on. So first of all, for any of you that have been living under a rock, and I say this with as much love possible, if you have no idea what gaslighting is a type of emotional abuse. It's a horrific type of abuse where the gaslighter, aka the abuser, aka whoever you want to name it in your relationship, makes you question your reality. You question your reality to the point where you don't know what you remember, if it's true or not. And you may be thinking, hey, how can a strong, independent woman, man, whatever you identify as, be able to question their reality? I mean, how can someone have such a profound effect on me? For those who have been subjected to gaslighting, you know that no matter how independent, strong you are very... Oh, by the way, if you can hear a dog barking, it's not my dog. It's a dog in the neighborhood that does not seem to want to quit for the past 2 hours. I swear, I think this dog is going to get laryngitis. But going back, no matter how strong or independent a person may seem, it seems that no one is immune to gaslighting. And gaslighting can happen in relationships and friendships, at work, which is a huge thing. You're going to hear me say this quite a lot, but gaslighting became a trending word during Trump's inauguration because it was one of his main tactics. That's what basically made him so effective in what he was doing. However, today it's all going to be about how to respond to gaslighting. Now, I've done a lot of videos on YouTube on what is gaslighting and examples of gaslighting. You can check those out. I will put it in the description. But like I said, today we are solution-oriented. So we wanted to get down to how to deal with gaslighting. So first of all, when you're being gaslighted in any type of relationship, you kind of feel like you're losing your mind. You think that you are overreacting, that you are too sensitive. The person may say mean jokes to you, and then when you say that you're offended, they will respond to, why do you take things so seriously? And you actually get to a point where you can't rely on your own memory, and you question your own sanity. Because that's the beauty and the irony of gaslighting, is that the more they remove you from your reality, the deeper and faster they can immerse you into theirs. So how does someone get subject to gaslighting? A brief overview. Well, it's called love bombing. And as women, and I'm not being sexist here, it's just this is something that has been imprinted in our brains since we were little girls, either via stories, Disney movies, the princess and all that, and waiting for Prince Charming. When we do see something that has occurred in a movie come to real life, and it's occurring in our relationship, and here I'm pointing mostly romantic relationships, we think we've won the lottery. And when the person starts expressing their feelings and has no filter in terms of showing how they feel and what they think, and they do these grand romantic gestures, many women, and if you want to say people now in general too, will fall for that. And speaking your emotions, saying what you believe in, having a good communication is the foundation of a good, of course, healthy relationship. However, the gaslighter will use whatever you divulge, whatever secrets you tell them against you in the future to control you. So, what's the one thing that you need to start doing when you're trying to deal with gaslighting? Well, it's pretty simple. Grab a notebook, grab a journal, grab a laptop, grab a chisel and a rock for all I care, and start writing things down. Writing things down not only has a powerful neurological effect because you have to pick the words that you are thinking, you have to express those words, those thoughts in words, and by choosing those words, your brain experiences a neurological effect. But also, it helps you kind of ground in your truth. So when you are gaslighted, this can be a very lonely journey. So it's funny how I would call it a journey. It's more like a nightmare. But you have to find also, along with writing things down, someone to accompany you on this journey, aka this nightmare. That is your soundboard. Now, this can be a friend, this can be a relative, this can be a coworker if you trust them, whoever you find that you can express your feelings to, and that will be non-judgmental and just be there for you. Use them, and I say this in a nice way, because they're the ones, along with writing everything down, that are going to help you stand your truth when the gaslighter starts questioning it. Now, there are moments where you would want to confront your gaslighter. It makes sense, especially your ego is screaming that you want to prove that you're right. And a lot of people stay in relationship with gaslighters because they have this need to prove themselves, and they have this need that the gaslighter is going to turn around and say, hey, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. Well, that's kind of like waiting for Santa Claus to pop up after being told that he doesn't exist, or waiting for the fairy godmother, which is basically just an old hag with a stick. So you get caught up in this cycle of trying to prove to yourself and trying to convince the gaslighter that you're right, that you start spewing all these evidence. Now, if you want to do this, or if you have to do this, and when I say have to, this could be because either they're your manager and you still want to stick with that job. It can be because you share custody of children. That is a big one. I mean, you win the battle of breaking free of your gaslighter, of your narcissist, of your abuser, but then you have to communicate and interact with them because you have children. This is where all the writing down helps you, because it's kind of like you're gathering puzzle pieces, and those are the ones that make up your truth. So it's time to put on your Sherlock cap on and start collecting emails and texts and quotes and what they said during actual conversations. So that way, when the gaslighter starts questioning what you're saying, whether it's true or not, you have documentation behind this. Now, I say this a lot, and I'm going to say it again. This documentation is not to prove to your gaslighter that you're right. It is not to prove to your gaslighter that you're not insane. It is not to prove to your gaslighter to change. These pieces of evidence, those are the puzzles that make up your sanity and provide you with some relief that you are not going insane, that you have a right to feel or think the way you do, and that no one in this entire world has the power or should have the power to make you feel insane. So we have writing everything down, having your soundboard. Now, one of my final points, obviously, is going to be, whether you want to confront them or whether you should just consider leaving. But heck, let's not let's not kid ourselves. Leaving your gaslighter, leaving an abusive relationship is not an easy thing. And for those who are like, suck it up and just do it and just leave them and you're worth more. Yeah, they're right. And I am part of those people that preach that message. I'm kind of more of a harsh love kind of person rather than sugarcoating anything. But I do acknowledge also the fact that some people do not feel ready or they feel insecure. And you just need some baby steps instead of those jumping off the roof step to make you feel that, hey, it's going to be all right. Let me start with something small. And this small thing can be, again, writing down things that you can control versus things that you can't. So the one thing with gaslighting is that you don't control, you feel like you can't control what you're thinking, what you're feeling, you can't trust it, and you're relying on that person to tell you what is true and what is not. You're relying on that person to even define you, whether you're funny, sexy, beautiful, fat, whether basically their reflection of you is what you believe, you perceive to be true. So this loss of power obviously can create even more insecurities. So it's kind of like a vicious cycle. So what you do is you start collecting, again, this is not more of evidence, this is more of pieces of your life, of things that you can control. So what can you control? Well, you can control your breathing. Every time a gaslighter triggers you, every time a gaslighter tells you something that immediately you feel like it's catching your breath, but not in a good way. You feel like someone hit you in the stomach. Basically, you kind of feel like what you do when you fall in love, but in this case, you're actually feeling like you're falling or plummeting to your death. Every time the gaslighter tells you something like that, take a breath. In and out. That is something that you can control. They say respond, but don't react. So another thing aside from your breath, which sounds really stupid, but hey, yeah, breathing in a situation and letting it kind of pass by when they're triggering you instead of reacting to it and making more of an emotional turmoil, that helps, and that is something that you can control. Another thing you can control is your diet. If you want to have 1, 2, 3, 5 cups of coffee, I mean, hopefully their gaslighter is not on top of you with a caffeine police telling you to stop drinking coffee or what you're going to eat. Another thing the gaslighter can't control is who you talk to. You may have the illusion that they can control by, let's say, checking your phone or seeing who you're speaking with when you go out in public. But they're not going to be with you 24/7. And finding that soundboard, speaking to that person that you trust. This is crucial in maintaining your sanity, and it is also something that you can control. Now, what happens when you don't have someone that you can trust? You're probably thinking like, fuck, Olympia, the whole point of gaslighting is that they take you away from your loved ones, your family, and your friends, and you end up alone. And you depend on that person, and that way you feel even more alone. And when they say something, that means it's true because there's no one else to contradict it. Are you following me? So if that's the case, which was my case, it's called Facebook. Facebook has amazing groups out there. It is a tricky slope because you have groups that basically, and I say this with the utmost love I can, bitch on a constant level about their abusers without doing anything. Now, those type of people you want to avoid because those types of people are acting in their head but not performing in action. You want to find a way to tell them what happened, to tell them how you're feeling, which is all great, which is what you need. You need an outlet. However, do not get trapped in the victim mentality. Remember, you are striving to be a survivor of gaslighting and emotional abuse. You're not striving to be basically a martyr, because that's what they are. So Facebook groups is a great way to connect with people when you have such difficult situations. They're private. They have all these rules, obviously, but there are people that do have genuine connections and just speak outside of the group. So yeah, those are my ways of dealing with gaslighting. And of course, the last way of dealing with gaslighting is seriously considering whether you should confront your gaslighter or whether you should just get up and leave. And this obviously is for the people that have done the work or are ready to leave. I mean, no one is pressuring you. No one says that you should jump the gun. Usually the more you think it, the more you talk yourself out of it, but every person is different. But if you're going to spend a lifetime trying to prove yourself to a person, trying to prove that you're right, that sounds exhausting, doesn't it? And if you are the person that wants kids or has kids, remember, you are setting an example of what a healthy relationship is like. And if you are trying desperately to prove yourself to your partner, or if you're relying on your partner to tell you what's true or what's not, if you accept the fact that when your partner says that you are lying, you accept the fact that yes, you are lying, even though in your core you know this is not true, that is not a healthy example to provide to your kids. And this is the harsh truth time of the whole sector. Sometimes it's bigger than you. Sometimes you have to think of other people. Now, it's funny, this is a bit contradictory because we're thinking, hey, gaslighting, this is about me. This is about regaining my independence, myself, finding myself again. And yes, all of that is true. However, my beautiful human, it also has to do with what kind of example you want to set for your children or even imaginary children. Now, when I was in an abusive relationship with a gaslighter and I questioned my truth, the thing that really snapped me out of it, not completely, obviously, because it's a very complex situation. It's not just all black and white, but the little gray matter here that woke me up was, dude, if I have a daughter, do I really want my daughter to see her mother treated that way? Or even worse, do I want to fuck up my daughter so bad that she has the same type of relationship I do? Do I want to make her think that this is normal? If it's a boy and he sees his father acting in that abusive way, do I want my son to become abusive? Or do I want my son to seek out abusive women or men? I mean, it works both ways. And this really what's kind of woke me up. So those are my ways of dealing with gaslighting. Make sure to visit my website. I've created a free guide for you. It's called the G-Spot, aka the Gaslighting Spot Guide. It has the most common gaslighting phrases where you can kind of tick every time you hear your partner or your boss or your manager or your friend say it. Obviously, leave me a review. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always such a pleasure having you here. I'm so grateful that you are listening to my podcast, and even if I help one person out there, good job, my beautiful human, and hang in there. And yeah, tick tock, this is all from the G-Spot.